How many times, if we were to look back in our lives and we're like, say we're in a situation, and if it's dark and it sucks, and we're praying, God, get me out of this, and we're just waiting for like that lifeline to come out. But at the same time, devil's like, oh, I know how to dig you deeper into that, dig you deeper
Yeah.
into that. It's like, ooh,
Do you think it's a coincidence that everything that you're praying to get stronger for
oh,
is the same thing that you're the weakest at?
dude,
Because he's gonna continuously
oh man,
fight with you on it.
That's the issue.
He's gonna try, no, 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 don't give up control. You got this.
Mm.
Hold on a little longer. And God is like, bro, just stop.
Yeah.
Just give it to me. I got you. It's like those footprints in the sand is not yours. I'm carrying you. But we tend to forget that. It's like, we try to fight with God over control. And we think that we can do something better than what God can do. And it's like God can be like, well, I prepared this building for you. And it's like you're trying to build this little shack on somewhere that at the first, whiff of the storm comes through and you're gone.
Exactly.
So,
there's this quote that our boy Samuel Johnson sent me a long, long time ago, and it's funny. He sent it to me in the moment I really needed it too. Like I was like in a dark time, and then when I read it, I was like, "Wow, it's perfect." I'm gonna read it here. Your calling is going to crush you. If you're called to mend the brokenhearted, you're going to wrestle with brokenheartedness. If you're called to prophecy, you're going to struggle to control your mouth. If you're called to lay hands, you will battle spiritual viruses. If you are called to preach and to teach the gospel, you will be sifted for the wisdom that anoints your message. If you are called to empower, your self-esteem will be attacked. Your successes will be hard fought. Your calling will come with cups, thorns, and sifting that are necessary for your mantle to be authentic, humble, and powerful. Your crushing won't be easy because your assignment is not easy. Your oil is not cheap.
Oh, send that to me. Absolutely.
Ooh-wee.
That is filthy.
Put that in the group chat.
Exactly.
Isn't that a fact though? Just like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like that hit. Like people were telling me like you're so encouraging, you're positive or whatever. And the only reason I'm that because I've been in that darkness for so long, and I battle with that.
Exactly.
Till this day, I'm still struggling with it. But it's also given me the opportunity to speak on it more. And it said authentic, humble, and with true experience. It's not like if you're reading about it and you're studying, that's all theory. Until you have experience and add it into that theory, now it's becoming wisdom.
See, and I guess Jesus was like the perfect example of all of these things that we're talking about, right? Because up until the very end, he was being tempted, right? If you're truly the Son of God, bring yourself off that cross, bring us down. This was, of course, the devil in the details, right? If I go about doing this, of course, everybody's going to be able to believe what it is that I'm telling them. But I want for them to be, able to, follow me blindly and understand that this is just the nature of who I am, type deal. When he was going through the wilderness, the devil was right there. All you got to do is just, worship me, and then I'll give you everything. You don't have anything to give, type deal. So being able to recognize that kind of stuff, like as soon as you stop fighting the battle, you're probably dead.
Hence why it's really hard for men to retire. Because once you retire, how many times do we what's the word I'm looking for?
You mean retire in a job?
From your career.
From career, okay.
Because we're so attached to that identity of that career.
Yeah, that can be very tough for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially at 65 is the normal retirement age. I can't imagine not working, but at the same time, I can't imagine doing how they did it traditionally, where you're at a job for 20, 25 years or so.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person where I need to constantly be learning, and which is why I get bored at almost every career I have. Every 3 or 4 years, I have to learn something new. Someone told me once, if you're not learning, you're dying. So that's kind of how I see a lot of things.
Absolutely.
And
You
that's
still
where the
die
dynamic.
yeah. Well, there's a backstory to that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
I had
which is
to.
why I'm constantly looking for what I'm going to do next. I mean, I work in physical therapy, but I was just talking to somebody I work at a substance abuse clinic. What does it take for me to become a counselor? Because it's a different type of clientele. I'm not working with, I've constantly been working with patients who need help, who need care, who need all that. And with this population, with people in substance abuse, it's just different. It's people my age, people that go through the same struggles, more relevant, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's a
Absolutely.
different type of struggle. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I want to essentially change my career and not even think about retirement, because then what happens after that?
Then you're useless.
Oh, yeah.
But
No,
that's
it's
kind
true.
of, it
This
is
is why-
true.
This is
It
why
is
I'm
true.
so grateful for this organization that you have, because you have a group of men that, you know, you're talking together, you have a purpose, you're building together. A lot of men, after retirement, they get really depressed. If they're not needed, what are they there for? I don't
Yeah.
want to go into a dark place, but
That's legit.
We're here. Let's go.
suicide in men is 4 times higher than in women.
Absolutely.
And it's because they also, like, a lot of them, like I said, they don't have purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said something the other day during our conversation that I took a note of because it was so like the way you said it was great. Let me see if I can find it really quick. It was something along the lines. The lone wolf. You said the men who are lone wolves, they're actually very dangerous for society.
They're absolutely, yeah, sorry.
No,
Do you
go.
wanna touch on that?
Those are your words. I'm just paraphrasing.
Yeah, like, so men are, what are they? They're surplus generators. They need to be able to provide. It's in their nature, like you said, men are made of dirt, and men are obviously more muscular. They're more able to get to work and get things done. And the lone wolves are usually the ones that are rejected, and then their ego is so hurt by it that they just turn misogynistic, or they turn to the wrong, I hate name dropping, but like someone like Andrew Tate, you know, like they go that route. And I'm not saying that everything he says is wrong, like there's definitely some like,
That's just the character.
That's
He's-
just- yeah, right,
It's
for
just his
sure.
character.
But,
Okay, continue.
yeah, basically, I definitely believe that men need community. They need to be around other successful, kind men that will bring them up.
Absolutely.
And the lone wolves are just, you know, they can be very dangerous to society if they're not given their share, if they're like apart from the circle.
Absolutely.
So I guess I'm confused. The lone wolf is the person who just is at a level where they're just by themselves, they're trying to figure things out, or just not progress, or
They just, yeah, they stay stuck. They don't have anybody to talk to. They don't have another male role model or
Okay.
somebody they can exchange information with. Because like when you were talking about throwing the stick, you're only going to throw it further and further the more you talk things through. You have to just like have companionship in a lot of, yes, of course, there are those days that you just want to be alone and cry in bed, whatever. We all do that sometimes, but
It's a Friday night for me. You know?
Someday.
Saturday.
Follow-up question then. You say that men need community and other successful men. What do women need?
women need to have their girlfriends, of course.
So very similar.
Yeah, very similar, but because like, okay, so you're partnered up with your husband, wife. You cannot share. I'm sure you can, but like you don't always have similar hobbies and like like I'm not gonna take my partner with me to the nail salon and just chit chat about whatever I want. You know, like I could, but it's not that fun. Like, it's more fun if you have a group of girlfriends. And this is also, so to answer your earlier question about what did I learn from my relationships is that at a younger age I was very possessive. But I really don't care much about sports or soccer. Like I don't want to sit at a bar and watch sports. So like I will give you that space to do that for yourself, and then I'll get my own hobbies. So, but this is like a maturity thing. I don't know if it's like a really like relational thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it is though. Like, you know, you understand as you mature, you kind of appreciate more of your space. You know, you appreciate quiet time more. And it's you don't see that until you get a little bit older, and you kind of understand like, yeah, life is busy. Life will tug at you left and right, up and down, and you when these moments that you have silence or a break or something to break up the constant grind mentality that the world pushes on us, especially in entrepreneurship. Like, how many times does your mind ever not think about your business? Very, very little. I know how
I
it
dream
is.
about it. I dream about Gulfo coffee all
It,
night.
it's true. It's true though, because again, when you have that vision and you're sticking to your coffee or your coffee. Whoa, gotcha. Here's some good stuff,
Cheers,
man.
everybody.
Hey, I got one of those.
Absolutely.
It's working. At the end of the episode, we're all like, "What happened? What's going on?" It was like woozy and stuff.
But I feel like, again, it boils down to the same thing, communication, right? Because I just literally recently had talked to my wife about all this, and she's like, sometimes it's hard for me to ask you just for a couple hours of just peace. Meaning, like, I just want quiet. Because she works from home, and when she's done, like, all she wants to do is just chill for a bit, or maybe, step out of the house or whatever. I work outside, so it's like when I come in, all I want to do is just sit inside and talk. But she's like,
I don't want to be here. I wanna
Yeah,
Let's go somewhere. It's like, ah.
but it made all the difference when, not that she was scared, but she was afraid to like not hurt my feelings. But when we put it on the table and it's like, okay, but I'm not a mind reader. I can't give you what you need if I don't know what you need. I think that's what you need. But sometimes that's not what you need. That's what I think. So when you don't tell me what you need, maybe 9 out of 10, I missed the point or I missed the mark. Sometimes I get it right. I feel like, we're very in tune with it, but, maybe you're just, because you're so wonderful, you're just trying to attend to my need. And at the same time, I am not attending to your need. So it's like, okay, you want an hour? Okay, you want to go shopping by yourself? Just take that hour, kind of clear your head, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. Go do you. That I know you're going to come back empty. So then I can put my BS kind of like on you and tell you about my day. So you can actually have some room that all of this can actually fit in. But when you're so full and your cup is overflowing with life and everything, and then you expect that, to like perform at 100% with your partner, it doesn't work. But again, it's a maturity level, it's a spiritual growth, it's all of that comes into a factor when it's like, okay, that's what they meant by that.
Flexibility.
Flexibility.
Yeah, I think there's many times in relationships that I can think back, not realizing what that person actually had done for you,
Yeah.
or does for you. And I think back, so I was with this girl. She was in the healthcare industry, and she was taller. She was about 5'10". And we would talk, and we never went out. And the first time we went out, I would talk about how tall she was. And essentially, I was showing my insecurity of being shorter. First time we went out, I was so worried about her being so tall that when I walked with her, I realized that I wasn't short, and we ended up being kind of the same height. And later that day, she's like, "I wear my flat shoes for you." And I'm like, I realized that.
I wore
And
my
it-
stilettos, baby.
And I think back then, it's such a little thing, but even more so now, it's that person wanted to give more and do the little things that kind of make you feel comfortable
Yeah.
and kind of remove insecurities. And I think that's a big part of your partner accepting you and then wanting to help you with things that you can't even express that you're insecure about. Insecurities are a big thing with guys. And
Yeah.
as I'm older now, I'm starting to realize what they are in people without them even having to explain it. And sometimes as men, we don't see what those insecurities are at all, but we present it to everybody, and other people be like, "Oh, this guy is definitely insecure about this and that," you know?
What do you think that is? What's the biggest insecurity for men that you've noticed? And I'm going to ask you the same question.
I had that question too. I was just going to ask.
I think it.
Brian like already started laughing. And it just, yeah, never mind.
I think there's so many common ones, but I'm trying to think of myself and what my insecurity is, and
Everybody talk about their greatest insecurities right now.
okay.
Yeah, one at a time.
I think the first thing is how I look visually when I walk into a room. It's always been an insecurity. I think that's why I'm was always so focused on fashion, always so focused on my body. I'm thinking as an insecurity, oh, if I have a good body, if I dress nice and, you know, be well groomed and smile, that it'll solve everything. And you know what? It solves 50% of it. You come in, I realize that if I was to talk now, looking back at me in my 20s, it's like, yeah, you had all that in your 20s, but how much substance did you really have when you spoke? How much intention did you really have? And how much genuine conversation did you actually have with people? And this kind of ties into ego. How you look visually, that's all your ego. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm best looking one here. I had to tell myself, you know, just to give myself confidence, but that was all ego. And I had mentioned this either on our call or on the Marco Polo. Anything that's outside of God is ego. And that's exactly how I see things. So now, there's this phase of dissolution of ego with everything I do. So when I walk into a room, I'm not worried about how I look completely. Sure, you have to present a certain way for a certain event, but it's everything else that God brings. Like your ability to connect with somebody is probably the most important thing. And if you're not connecting with anybody, you're connected with God, right? You're there, He brought you here, and that's it. You know? I even think back when I did this podcast first, it was like, how am I going to look on camera? What am I going to talk about?
Yeah, you were calling me in the car. He's like, man, I don't know what to say. Man. I was like, dude, don't worry, bro, chill.
And then-
Take this pill real quick.
Take this coffee. Be all
I
right.
remember that day, and let me tell you the thing that changed everything for me. And Alfredo had prayed us in, and he said, God, may you speak through us and kind of give us your word. And with that alone, I realized he does that a lot. I don't have to worry about what I talk about with people. When I come into a room, I'm not that corporate Jason or that entrepreneurship Jason where it's like, let me present you the best thing possible, you know, to try and sway you, manipulate you, or
Put this image up.
convince you.
Right.
But you know what? Now things are much more flowing with conversation, much more flowing with talking, and the ego part is kind of just here, you know. And I realized that regardless of how I wanted to portray, whether it be that smart guy, that intelligent guy, the cool guy, like it's always been there. You know, we were designed a certain way, like you said. So
I love that,
that's
bro.
just all it is. I just say what I say now.
I
If
love
it
that,
comes
man.
out bad, which it never really does, that's how you were designed.
Yeah. It can't come out bad if you're the best looking one here, you know.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what
It's
you
It
hard.
really resonates.
It's hard.
Yeah. I mean, same here, but we were both in the fitness industry, and I remember just blaming everything on my looks when things would not go my way when I was
Really?
younger. Yeah, because I didn't start believing in God until I was like late 20s, which I still am, obviously. But I remember like just, oh, my boyfriend broke up with me because I'm not skinny enough. My hair's not long enough. My lashes aren't long. Like really silly things about like I cannot go out tonight because I'm bloated. Actually, it's kind of embarrassing. But even yesterday, one of my really good guy friends called me up, like, yo, where have you been? I haven't seen you out this summer. And I love being out. I love, like, wearing my summer dresses and making friends. And I don't drink, so I feel like I'm able to connect with people on a much deeper level, not super superficially. And I pride myself on that because I really, really enjoy good, high-quality people, right?
Yay. Yeah, go
But he's like, yo, where have you
Black
been?
Jason
And
who?
I hate to admit it, guys, but my summer dresses just don't fit me the same way that they did a couple summers ago. It's embarrassing for me, and unfortunately, yeah, I'm still like in that zone. But what's the positive outlook on that?
Did you put them in the dryer?
That's why you need friends like David. Oh, you just dried it too long. You just dried it too long.
You gotta hang dry.
You gotta
hang dry.
So that seems like an insecurity of yours. Do you see something similar in men? 'Cause how do you get past that, actually?
I just don't go out till next summer.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that with all those insecurities, it just gives us room to grow, right? So recognizing what it is that you are insecure about, if it is like something physical or something educational or whatever, okay, in order for me to go about, feeling better in these situations, I can go about, doing research on how to go about dressing whenever I go out. And now I can start to feel like a little bit more like I belong. Right? I think that's the biggest thing in my mind that people end up struggling with, the ability to go about belonging to something.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
I guess,
Operation Redwood.
and I guess that's the important thing. Like this sense of belonging only occurs when you're with people who are open
Yep.
to having you be a part of them, like Operation Redwood. That's why we only hang with certain groups of guys or girls, right? Because you know they're similar to you, and they'd be open to anything you do or you say. So I'm very careful who I spend my time with.
As you
know?
should be.
As much as people are kind and nice, there's still people, the devil's not here, but the devil has influenced a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And I'm still learning who my enemies are, even though I've known them for a long time. So, and that's not their fault. They just haven't, they're in this stage of development where, oh, now I'm finding myself. That was wrong. So,
I think your priorities change though when you're single versus in a relationship. We tend to forget that, obviously, like when you're single, you're trying to chase that woman, that guy, whatever. It's like you're trying to put on the best version of yourself, right? It's like you're trying to capture not only, their inner beauty, but their outer beauty, their attention, all of that. And then it's like we forget that once we get into the marriage, it's like we forget about, like I said earlier, we forget all about that. When in all actuality, we shouldn't care anything about what society thinks anymore. When we have a loving spouse, that it's like, hey, I love you just the way you are. You don't have to change anything for me. If you want to do that for yourself, like you want to look better, you want to do all that, that's great, because that ultimately is probably going to prolong your life. It's going to make you more agile into certain situations, so that's all good. But it's hard for us men, I feel like, even when my wife was telling me, because, I was way heavier, and it's like, she was telling me, like, you're just perfect the way you are. And it was hard for me to, like, understand that concept that, I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Like, I don't see myself, and I could never see myself the way your spouse sees you. And just vice versa. After our marriage, when we got married, she just had a complete imbalance. She went from being, she was always a little bit, but I love, a little bit meat on the bone. And she just went, as David knows, she just climbed the weight and everything like that. And to me, I just never saw her a pound heavier than the day I married her. But then now looking at pictures, and it's like you see the transition that it's like, damn, we're almost the same weight now. And it's like, man, like I said, levels of love. It's like, man, you just start desiring and craving your wife in a level that it's like, man, it was always there. It's just you never tapped into it. So.
Love that.
Absolutely.
Biggest ego for men,
Yeah.
or not ego, I'm sorry, insecurity, is not being a man.
Ooh.
That stinks. No, I'm saying
Not being a
like
man.
the biggest insecurity is being told you're not a man.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you hurt any guy,
That's a kick in the
Right.
balls right there.
right?
Even as a joke.
And Brian, tapping into what you said in terms of like changing, man, I don't know. It's like on my mind, it's on my heart today. Flexibility. You can only change if you're flexible.
Absolutely.
That's the only way. And where was I going with this? In terms of
We're going to test your flexibility in a minute.
Touch it, everyone touch
take
your
a break.
toes. We'll be back
Redwood
with
after
more-
dark.
So isn't that exactly what we're doing though? Like with Operation Redwood is to change that and
Change the
people-
narrative, right.
Yeah, change the narrative. So theoretically, anyone listening to this and actually like willing to change that's flexibility right there.
Yeah.
They're open to becoming better.
Exactly.
We go back to, the foundation of what this all is about, right? Foundationally, men are called to be kings, warriors, lovers, and friends, right? Most of it will fall under one of those blankets. And if one of those are missing, if we feel like maybe we're a weak warrior, a protector, right? then we'll overcompensate and be extra good at one or the other. And that's how we find most men. Is I'm a really great provider, but I'm a really crappy dad.
Yeah.
And it's instead of I need to work on my relationship with my kids, I'll just be a better provider and have hopefully some of that overflow pour into the rest of those other areas that I'm not sufficient in.
Yep.
And the world will tell you that's okay. Because the world will tell you chase the dollar, and I'm not saying those are bad things, but you have to have this level of self-awareness of like, where am I lacking? And we go back to, if God has a plan for me, the enemy also has a plan for me. So where's the enemy going to attack you? Where are my weak points?
Yeah.
For me, it was my relationship with my wife because I was so like warrior. I was a weak lover. I wasn't a lover. I was a fixer. I'm just going to try to fix this.
Exactly.
But like what you were saying, she wants to be heard and listened to. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And that really was my, and still is. I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
But because I know that's like that little chink in my armor where that arrow can get me,
Yeah.
I have to be intentional about pursuing that. So then we go about what are we doing every day? What are we doing with the hours that we have every day? Right? We go back to the example of every morning you wake up, you got that $24 for 24 hours. You spend 8 at work. You spend maybe 4 on your commute back and forth. Another 2 or 3 because your coworkers are asking things of you. And at the end of the day, you maybe have $3 max left. How are you going to spend that? Most men, sports, right? TV, video games. And it's like, okay, well, you can't be surprised why this certain area in your life is not growing because you just have to look back and take account of where you're spending your time. If you want a brotherhood, you've got to be that friend first. Like I have no patience for men that complain about shit. For people that complain about stuff. Because then I look into your schedule. Okay, show me your calendar. Show me what you got going on. You can't tell me you don't have 15 minutes anywhere. Here's a really interesting part. I actually did the math yesterday. So we've 24 hours, 60 minutes, right? Multiply that, it's like 1,000, whatever. Remember when they say if all you have to do is get 1% better every single day? 1% of 24 hours times 60 minutes, you know what that is? 14.4 minutes. 14.4 minutes is all you have to do to be mathematically better, just 1% every single day. And people are like, 1%, that's really easy. Why do that? At the end of the year, 365%, right? The best way to eat an elephant, 1 bite at a time. So 1% at a time. So if you need to be a better warrior, you need to be a better protector, 15 minutes. You literally intentionally spend 15 minutes on how you can be a better whatever that is. Fill in the blank. But most men don't do it. And that's my issue.
Yeah.
But you know why? Because Jason touched on it. It's the, counsel you surround yourself with. Because you're a lone wolf, as we just touched on it. And, man, that thing hit like a ton of brick because, as David knows, this year, that's kind of like my life. It just took a turn, an unexpected turn that it was just one event after another that now I know the enemy was just trying to keep me down and take my focus away. I was almost, and I knew what was coming because it happened before in a sense that it was just, I knew I was going to fall into a depression that it was like no other. And somehow called this dude up. It's like, man, not later to find out that he was like, I've never seen you in 20-some years ever in that stage or in that state of life. However, he threw it out there. He was like, man, we meet on Wednesday mornings. And I'm like, man, what is this stuff, man? Like, man needing men? I'm like, come on, man, are you a real man or what? Like, you can't handle this on your own?
That's real, though, bro. That's real.
But that's the mentality of a lone wolf, right?
Yeah.
I can do all this by myself.
Join our pack.
Yeah, basically, it was just, he extended, obviously, God through him, he was just a vessel that God used, and he basically extended a lifeline that the first time when I joined, I remember hanging up and my wife getting up, and the first question, she was like, how was your meeting? And I'm like, man, that was such a heavy, loaded question for me because I was like, this is too good to be true. And I'm like, this is exactly what I need, but how do I go about being intentional about it? Because it's unfamiliar territory for me. I don't know what to do. What's the next step? So I'm like, the only thing that I know how to do is just, I'm going to show up next Wednesday.
I was just about to say, what do you do with it? It's kind of like having a goal of going to the gym. It's like, what do you do with it? It's just about showing up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it is with the Wednesday mornings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I just started doing that, and I just show up, right?
Yeah.
And it's
And you
so
show up
amazing
great,
when
bro.
you're-
I got to give you, yeah, dude, you do a great job showing up.
Yeah.
Not only that, but the participation, the questions.
Exactly.
It's like you keep people engaged.
Yeah.
So that's,
I mean, that's how it is when you're with certain people that you're open to, right? Because it's a very intimate type group and setting, even though we're just on a call. Just having that ability to know these guys are open, meaning you guys and the other people on the call. Just having that makes you more open to kind of explaining more of you. And that's why I have groups of friends that are that same way. Because then you can do that in different avenues of your life.
Absolutely.
You know, whether it be in the gym or whether it be at school or any type of learning, anything, cars. So
Yep.
it's just having and surrounding yourself. You hear it a lot. Surround yourself with the people that blah, blah, blah. No, it's about surrounding yourself with the correct people who are open, who are flexible, who have a similar mindset and who have that drive. Like me and Angela are the entrepreneurship / spirituality, which is a deadly combination.
Absolutely.
So it's great to have this group. And there's
was-
a lot that goes from there.
The study that we did a couple weeks ago, it was saying your actions reveal 100% of your beliefs. Your actions reveal 100% of your beliefs. So you take accountability for exactly what the actions you're doing. You're showing up on these Wednesday calls. You're showing up on these times where you don't feel like it. Like all these things add up to that little 1% every day, that 15 minutes. And when you break it down to a daily, okay, what's 15 minutes? I call it the next best thing mentality. If there's a ton of things you can do, but what's the next best thing? Because the issue, and I believe the problem that we have today is there's so many options. Like technology is great, but it also opened up the window to so many different things, so many options, so many choices, so many different. Okay, so what's the next best one? These are all okay. These are good options. What's the next best one? And you got that forces you to slow down and like, okay, what is the next best thing I can do? If I've only got 15 minutes, what's the next best thing I can do?
be intentional with God.
Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
That's
it.
a very difficult thing for people to do. And I think that leads to a lot of insecurities in men.
Yes.
So the first thing that comes to mind, and I don't know why it comes to mind, but I see only in myself, like the hardest part for me was dating someone who stood out or who was extremely beautiful, who catches everyone's eye. It takes a strong man to be and walk with that person because you have everyone kind of checking them out, even like, I don't know, there's just so much that goes on when there's a pretty woman in the room. And you have to, that's when guys kind of become possessive. That's how I was in my 20s. And you have to get past that insecurity of, oh, she's going to want someone else, or, oh, who's this guy? And, you know, so that's a big insecurity in men that I believe could still be, you know, one of the things that damages relationships, you know? So it takes a different type of man. I look at Brian, I don't know why, but I feel like,
He's easy on the eyes, that's why.
yeah,
Brian's like, yeah, I know it's hard being beautiful. Trust me.
but it is a factor, right? You're with somebody who's beautiful. It takes a strong man to kind of sit back and be like, that's okay. You know, like, we have a special relationship, you know? But it's
Why would
something,
it not be okay, though, for people to look and be like, oh, wow, Jason, your girlfriend is beautiful?
yeah.
Guys are
What's wrong with
possessive.
that?
Exactly.
Guys are very possessive.
You don't
Guys
want
are
to lose that.
possessive,
Okay, so what? She's
No.
coming home with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's how it was in my 20s that I had to progressively kind of get past. But
Yeah.
it doesn't work for a lot of men, I feel like.
Yeah.
No,
Because
it's legit.
they're the possessive ones.
Exactly.
And they're the ones who are like, don't look at her, you know?
No. Yeah.
It's the alpha male mentality, like
I
No,
saw
that's
something
not an
so
alpha
amazing
male
the other
mentality,
day
yeah.
that the way that you show your success is by having a beautiful wife, a well taken care of wife, and that's
Yeah.
how you show off your.
Absolutely.